He had one of the most horrifying experience in the history of Fuji music in Nigeria. He lost his musical instrument, he lost his parents, he reportedly lost a wife and some siblings, and he lost it all. Iyanda Sawaba Ewenla, one of the most gifted musicians in Fuji music across all generations, lost everything at the height of his glory. Between the 1980s and the early 90s, he was considered one of the most gifted and a protege of the late Sikiru Ayinde barrister. At some point, he was even considered the crown prince of Fuji music, and that was way before King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal became the king and undisputed capo di tutti of Fuji music. Iyanda Sawaba Ewenla was a force to reckon with, and one of the most lyrically gifted of the genre in Nigeria. But just when everything was going on smoothly for the Ibadan-based Fuji musician, he had one of the most tragic experiences in the history of the genre. After all of the incident that forced him out of music and live performances, he came back with a message of hope and endurance.
Bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ ni, bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ ni, bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ yẹn. Ọ̀rọ̀ ń bẹ lẹ́yìn wá ọ̀la o, bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ ni. Bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ ni, bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ ni, bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ ni. Ọ̀rọ̀ ń bẹ lẹ́yìn wá ọ̀la, bọ́lọ́hun bá pé ó yẹ ni.
The message resonated with a couple of his fans, but unfortunately, he could not get back into the position that he had with the influence and the charisma that he commanded within the Fuji music empire. Over time, after several decades of back and forth attempt to stage a comeback, he had a sort of renaissance, and he was courted by media houses and show promoters from different parts of the country. But unfortunately, the scene had become so competitive that his own visibility was even a shadow of its former self. Just when he was being considered to have stamped his feet within the industry, he breathed his last at the University College Hospital, UCH, Ibadan, the capital city of Oyo State. Isiaka Iyanda Sawaba Ewenla. The acclaimed king of Fuji music, Alhaji Wasiu Ayinde Marshal, K1 the Ultimate, betray Iyanda Sawaba Ewenla at any point in his Fuji career? Iyanda Sawaba does not believe otherwise. One sunny afternoon in 2018, I met Iyanda Sawaba somewhere around Ugbiri Tioya, around Agugu area of Ibadan. And we spoke at length about his career, about Fuji music, about contemporary pop incursion into Fuji music, and about everything. He spoke to me as though he was speaking to a soulmate, and he told me that the tribulations he had in his career were designed by God, but they were people that he considered to be sababi, people who aided some of those events, and people who were at the center of those events. He told me point blank that he was betrayed by KWAM, the King of Fuji music, Wasiu Ayinde Marshal. First, he told me that K1 the Ultimate was not his contemporary. The contemporaries, according to him, were the likes of Sakala Igbade, Alhaji Ewenla, Abinuai Bashiru, with whom he said he competed with in Onola sometime in 1968. According to him, he rode into Onola on a horse during the competition, and they were playing a mixture of sakara and all sort of indigenous music. So he was not a contemporary of Wasiu Ayinde Marshal, but of course he agreed that Wasiu Ayinde Marshal could as well claim to be his contemporary because they played almost at the same time. Although he claimed that he came ahead of King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal. According to him, he started Were in 1964, and throughout the period that he played Were performances, he never met Wasiu. He said he left Were performances around 1976, and he went out to places like Lagos Island, Agege, Mushin, performing. He never met Kwamwan. In his own words, where did we meet? We never met during my Were days. Those I met include Alhaji Jelani Oriade. According to him, there was also a man called Sunday Ijero, a protege of Alhaji Kolenti Ayala. Alhaji Iyanda Sawaba told me that Sunday Ijero is the father of acclaimed Fuji musician Remi Aluko. So his name was Sunday Aluko, but he called him Sunday Ijero because he lived in the Ijero area, around the Papa area of Lagos State. He was the first Christian to sing Were, according to Alhaji Iyanda Sawaba. Then he said he had senior colleagues, including Alhaji Kendi Adaramaja, Barrister Remo Agwegba, Amawi Barrister Olufade, and so many others, including Taju Ajilekege, and of course a butcher in Oyinbo named Ajadi. He said he played around the Beauty Meter, and he was in the Beauty Meter at the time, but he was not a contemporary of Kwamwan. So the likes of Isieka Olorunroje, Ramoni Akoni, Bokotera Ayimi, and others, he said they met while they were performing Were song. But he never met King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal. And that's contrary to the claim by King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal that they were contemporaries. That when he was in the island, Iyanda Sawaba was rocking the streets of Ebute Metta. In that interview, he told me about his dispute with the late Alhaji Ayinde Barrister. And according to him, Alhaji Barrister had a character flaw which prevented him from hearing from both sides in a dispute. He said he would have loved if Alhaji Barrister heard from him when he was told about certain things that he had done to him. He said he was disappointed, but of course they forgave him. At that interview, Alhaji Sawaba told me about Kamaru Anshala, one of those things that was said to have led to the dispute between him and Alhaji Ayinde Barrister. According to him, he never had any intention to snatch Anshala from Alhaji Ayinde Barrister. But what happened was the dispute between Anshala and Barrister led to humiliation on the part of Anshala, and it felt because he had an ailment, because Anshala had an ailment. He needed some care, and because he was demoted in Barrister's band, he needed to take care of him, and that was why he invited him into his band. And told me that was not something unusual at the time, because several band leaders, several drummers played for different artists at that time, but because it was prominent, so people felt he snatched Ayinsola from Alhaji Ayinde Barrister. In any case, he told me that he never did. One of the most touching stories that Alhaji Iyanda Sawaba told me in that interview was how he was betrayed by King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal. According to him, they got to Liberty Stadium and he started singing. Then he was joined by Wasiu and they started singing Ìwọ lọmọ àgbájé Sàlámì láyé o. Ọmọ àgbájé Sàlámì láyé o. Apparently, they were making jest of Ayinde Barrister in one of those days when Fuji was very, very controversial. Then, according to him, Wasiu got to Lagos and took his family members to plead with the late Sikiru Ayinde Barrister. And Barrister, according to him, had the character flaw of listening to just one side of the story. So he accepted Wasiu's plea. But unfortunately for him, he went ahead to have another show somewhere in the Gumo show. So he forgot and he didn't know what was going on. And ever since then, things went south between him and Sikiru Ayinde Barrister. In 2004, the rift between him and KWAM was settled by several other people, including the one between him and other artists. But he said he had issues with KWAM's character and he left him. In any case, before Alhaji Sikiru Ayinde Barrister died, they both reconciled and they both reconciled and they agreed to work together. Interestingly, again, just a few days before he died, he was in Lagos to attend a program put together in memory of Sikiru Ayinde Barrister by KWAM. So, in effect, Alhaji Iyanda Sawaba Ewenla died with his soul at peace with people whom he have had disagreement in the course of his career. Iyanda Sawaba died at the University College Hospital UCH in Ibadan after suffering a partial stroke. Iyanda Sawaba was a native of Ile Akperi in Ibadan. Although he was born in Ghana on November 1, 1951, he became more popular with his leading role among the then younger generation of Fuji musicians who supported the late Agba King Sikiru Ayinde Barrister at the height of his supremacy battle with his ex-royal colleague and friend, General Kollington Ayinla. Iyamba released over 22 albums, and his last album was released in 2018 when he was 67. At the height of his glory, Iyanda Sawaba was signed to Adetunji Records, which later became Babalaji Records, owned by the late Olubado of Ibadan land, Obasanjo Akomo Adetunji. At some point in his career, he later pitched a tent with the KG Okunowo-led The Funk Sony Music in 1992, where he released a successful album titled Message. The album was produced by Laolo Akins. He thus produced over 22 albums at the height of his career. Some of them include albums like Suru, Igbo Daju, Pata Olokun, Aitoto, or Sheniwo, among other great albums. At his 70th birthday organized sometime last year, it was celebrated by ace musician Saidi Oshupa and Thai Currency in Ibadan.
Iyanda Ewenla Sawaba owó eléyìí ẹ̀yà alágbè wọ̀nyí àpòbàbọ̀ ní ẹ̀fọ́ ògbóǹgbò Iyanda Sawaba owó àdúgbò àyíká nínú ọ̀ Iyanda sẹ́wọ́sì ọ̀ báàmì Iyanda Sawaba sábà àbíọ́dún ẹ̀yà gbogbo náà ọ̀fà àríyí ọ̀fà àríyí ọ̀fà tútù.
Yọ̀dá orí mi ẹlẹ́dá ní.
Olùjọ́ wa kásíkà olóògbé tuntun lé. Bàbá nínú òṣìṣàn ojoogun bá mi ṣe pọ̀ ọwọ́ tó lójú bọ́ ẹ̀yọ ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n tó ló rẹ́jú. Omi kọ́ni fújì omi tó ló pẹ̀lú olùjọ́ wa fọ́nkì báyìí lórí ti ilé tó yàtọ̀ olùjọ́ wa kásíkà olóògbé tuntun lé. Ìyàbá kan ní bọ́ wọn sọ pé fún bí ó ṣe dé wọn. Àdìsí yẹn àti padà. Àṣìkò bẹ́ẹ̀ kò ní bọ́ bọ́ bọ́. Ọjọ́ kọ́lá sì ní ẹni bọ́ wọn sọ pé fún bí ó ṣe dé wọn. Ayé òní gbé bọ́ torí lẹ́kùn ló dé wọn. Báwo ni ojú bá torí lẹ́kùn ló dé wọn. Creativity tóbi fún lónìí dé wọn. Originality ló mú lónìí ìdàgbò. Sawaba dynamics ló máa yóò bá òkú sí. Ẹ̀dá gbogbo fún Síkírù Àyìndé. Lọ Fuji látara wọlé. Sawaba olùwéré òní ti sàrí ìbàdàn wọn ti gbọ́. Ọmọ ìbàdàn ló ń dájọ́.
Iyanda Sawaba was one of the most promising of his generation, but of course, it was unfortunate to have gone through all of the tribulations that actually stifled his heart and creativity. May he find rest. Amen.